I ran my first ever half marathon literally 2 days ago, so I'm going to give you guys the complete breakdown and all of my top tips to have the best first half marathon. And if you're someone who's already run a half before, these are also going to help you to level up and just make the experience and the recovery as efficient as possible. If you're new here, hey, my name is Georgia. I'm a women's online health and fitness coach, and I help women just like you step into your ultimate confidence across all areas of your life. And if you're coming back for another YouTube video, thank you so much. You guys have honestly no idea how much I appreciate you. So with that being said, let's get into the nitty gritty of this weekend. My memory card is about to run out. That's not the vibe. Okay, we'll yap for a bit and then we'll sort that out. So as I just mentioned, literally 2 days ago on Sunday, it is now Tuesday when I'm filming this, I ran my first half marathon. It was the Wokingham half, and this was the first time I have ever run this kind of distance, ever done any event like this before. I've done 10Ks before, but that is literally it. So this was a massive step outside of my comfort zone, and if I'm honest, even 6 months ago, not something I ever thought I was going to be doing. When I tell you, my best friend has been desperate for me to do a half marathon with her for the past couple of years, and when I finally told her back in December that I wanted to sign up and do the half with her in February, she literally looked like she could have passed out. So this just goes to show nobody around me thought that this was something that I was going to do. Now, obviously, running is something that I have got into in the past year and a half. I absolutely love running now, and honestly, it's one of those things I never thought I would say, but I am a fully fledged running girly now, and I honestly love working with people who have such specific time-bound goals. And it's something that I've always had myself, but with photo shoots or dance events, things like that, but I've just never had such a specific big running goal before, and it was honestly the biggest motivator ever. So basically, I want to share with you guys some of my top tips for the process, the day, the recovery, so that you can either go out and smash your first half, or if you're running a second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever half, then you can go and level up your time, level up your recovery, level up your training basically. So I want to give you all the secrets. But before I get into the nitty gritty, a quick rundown of this Sunday and just how I found it, I suppose. So number one, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. And I thought my body was going to hate it, but I actually felt pretty good, apart from maybe the last 2 to 3K, which is where I realized that I could actually run it a lot faster than I thought, and just kind of really pushed for the last 2K, which explains why I felt like that. This is by no means the hardest thing I have done. I think coming from a dance background, I have felt that level of strain and some on my body multiple times, but just not for a long time, and not really when running obviously a distance like this. I actually managed to run it in just under 2 hours and 4 minutes, so roughly 2:03:50 something, which I never expected to be the outcome at all. I fully went into this just wanting to enjoy the experience, show up, soak it all up, get it done, no matter what the time. And I kind of said to myself, if I can get it under 2:10, that would be incredible, and far exceeded those expectations. So as I said, to walk away with a time like that, I was honestly over the moon, especially for my first half. And I say for my first half because I definitely will be going back and doing at least another one, and I will be running it in sub 2 hours. When I tell you that my body felt actually so good, mentally, cardiovascularly, felt absolutely fine pretty much the whole way around. Was chatting to my friend that I ran it with basically the whole time, probably until the last few kilometers, which were pretty hilly. And I think as well by that point, the 1 hour, no, not 1 hour, who am I kidding myself? The 2 hour, 5 minute pacer had caught up with us a little bit, and I was like, there is no way I am finishing behind this woman. So the last 2-3 kilometers, I just really put my foot on the gas and just pushed as hard as I could. And I thought, actually, do you know what? I could actually really see what I'm capable of right now. So went ham on the last few kilometers. I think my last kilometer was maybe just under 5.5 minutes, which was my fastest kilometer of the whole run, which is pretty cool. Crossed the finishing line, and yeah, just such a good feeling. Doing any sort of race is just so much fun. So whether it's a 5K, a 10K, marathon, half marathon, ultra, whatever it is, just having that race environment makes such a difference. But I want to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of what I did to prep for my race, what I did sort of in the days leading up to my race, and also what I have been doing since to make sure that I'm recovering really well, because honestly, I feel great. And even like that day, everyone was like, are you really tired? And I was like, no, like, don't get me wrong, I couldn't go and run another half now. I probably couldn't, but I felt great. Felt really, really good. Just a little bit stiff and a little bit sore, but what's new? I feel like that most of the time from training and lifting weights. So let's rewind a little bit and let's go back to prep and what that looked like. Now, my half marathon prep was definitely a little bit shorter than what I wanted it to be, especially for my first half. So I spent the whole of December, bar one day, running 5k every single day to raise money for charity. I did my 30 days of 5ks. If anyone was around for that, thank you so much. And if you haven't already, go and check out that video, because I tell you what, that was a crazy time in my life. So I was running a lot, but I wasn't getting a lot of distance in one go sort of through my legs. So I by no means was out of kind of like race shape coming into January, but I knew that I had definitely some work ahead of me to get myself feeling good. And this was the main thing that I wanted, and I can't stress that enough. I just wanted to come out of this in one piece and feeling really good, and I can definitely say that I have done that. So prep definitely ramped up pretty quickly. I had run up to 15k by the end of the year, but I hadn't been running like long distance or longer runs very frequently at all. So the first thing was just getting a structure with my weeks, and also just making sure I was prioritizing enough time to recover. I also have a high rocks in April, so that was also a part of my training from January. So I very much had a lot to do. And so it was a combination of running, tempo and speed work, and also cross training as well, just to make sure that there wasn't too much impact going through my joints. I notoriously have quite bad knees. So obviously the idea was to not have them flare up and get through this prep as kind of like pain-free as possible. So as I mentioned, combination of tempo work to work on pace, building up my distance to a total of 18k was my longest long run, and then also substituting any extra cardio for cross training. So I did a lot of work on the bike, just building up that like aerobic threshold and being able to like hold my heart rate at a higher level for a prolonged period of time, basically. Obviously on the side of this as well, I was doing one high rocks workout per week, which is obviously where my heart rate is going to be that little bit more elevated. So that obviously would have been able to help me with just being able to like push probably that last little bit, just knowing that I can work up to that capacity and sustain that capacity again, all kind of helped. But I suppose the main thing here was that I wanted to get those longer runs under my belt after coming off the back of a long stint of 5Ks basically. So I did all of my longer runs, I'm pretty sure, bar maybe one 14k I think, with my friend who I did the half with. And I honestly, for me, that's something that was just such a saving grace, because long runs, they are long, they can be boring, and I find when I've got someone there with me, like I literally just chat to my best friend the whole time when we run, and that's like our catch up time, which is so nice. So it kills two birds with one stone, plus we're doing something that is good for our bodies, good for our minds, good for our hearts, and we get to do it together. So I would so recommend, if you are new to running longer distances, get someone to do it with you. Like find a friend who's up for pushing the distance with you and have that moral support. Like it's so nice knowing that there's someone in it with you. Now, don't get me wrong, training was by no means a breeze. There was lots of things that sort of came up rather that definitely threw a bit of a spanner in the works, and I thought that prep would be a lot more straightforward than it was, because my life is normally very regimented, which it still was. However, long runs obviously take a while, so have to be done generally on the weekends. And I have spent basically most weekends from January doing extra teaching work, which just made things a little bit harder to fit in. And obviously with having to work around my friend's schedule as well, it sometimes meant that like runs had to be done on different days, or like we would go a week and not be able to do a longer run. So it definitely wasn't smooth sailing, which is something that I didn't expect. But the main thing was like we showed up when we could and we got those runs done when we could. So if you're someone who's prepping for a longer race right now, excuse me, and you miss a run, or a run doesn't get done on the day that you think it's supposed to get done on, it is not the end of the world. Like, please, whatever you do, do not give up on yourself, and do not think that just because one run didn't go as you planned or wasn't done when you wanted it to be done, that all is lost. The main thing is that you pick up and you keep that momentum going. You will also have horrible runs as well. I think the run that probably my friend and I will talk about for a long time is the notorious 16k that we did. It was just horrendous. It was just absolutely horrendous. I mean, it was all going well, ish. I hadn't eaten enough the day before. My friend also had not eaten enough the day before, so we both were feeling a little bit deflated energy-wise, which is fine. But we then thought we would run through this forest in the town. We ran where we used to live, and we thought we could run through this forest rather than running up the main road, but the weather had been rather wet. You can probably see where the story is going prior to that. So we literally got stuck in this forest and couldn't work out how to get out and find the main road again for probably about 20 minutes. And the mud was something else. Like, you would stand in the mud and just completely sink down. Our feet were completely soaked. We were covered in mud from like the sort of like calves down from it flicking everywhere, and we literally physically could not run for probably about 20 minutes because it was so slippery, and yeah, just walking was awful. And I actually remember following my friend through these woods and just laughing, and I said to her that if I don't laugh, I think I might actually cry right now, because this is just what is this situation basically. And the problem was as well, for basically all of our training, it was so cold. I don't think we did a long run that was warmer than, I don't know, 4 or 5 degrees. So it was obviously, I think it was like 2 or 3 degrees on this day, so it was cold. We're talking multiple layers, running jacket, gloves, like the works. And obviously because we'd stopped running and we're then moving very slowly, obviously to not stack it in this mud, we both got freezing cold, and we then had another maybe 5 or 6 kilometers to run to get home and to finish our 16k. And obviously both of us were really cold, everything had seized up, and when I tell you that was probably the most painful 5 to 6 kilometers I have ever run, I remember saying to my boyfriend when I got home, I feel like I am 100 years old. So we did have some pretty interesting runs, and yeah, just disclaimer, no prep for any run or race will ever be smooth sailing. So a little bit of reality there for you, but we did make it all the way to the grand old 18k, definitely later than we wanted it to be. Ideally it should have been a couple of weeks before the race, but our 18k actually, again, just because of our schedules, ended up being literally a week to the day before the race. So definitely not ideal from a taper sense. But I then went into my taper week. I had a really nice chilled week of training and literally did 2 really short runs, one 5k and one 25-minute run, which I think I did about 4.5k, and just took it really nice and slow. Well, actually, I tell a lie. The 5k I got a little bit excited. Don't know what was in my crunchy nut that morning, but I ended up running it in 26 minutes and maybe like 10 seconds. So like not that far off of a PB. I think maybe 10 seconds off and I would have been like hitting a new PB. So accidentally got a little bit excited on that 5k. But my 25-minute run I took really slow, and I just had a really light week in the gym. And one of the things that actually I found harder than I thought was my carb load. Now, we did a moderate carb load because I am someone who responds really well to running on a lot of fuel. And this is something that I also learned through December, because obviously December, Christmas eating, socializing, all that good stuff. Whenever I had a day after I don't know, had a meal out or just had like more Christmassy food or whatever, I ran so well and felt so good the following day. So we decided, myself and both my coaches decided it was the best idea to do a moderate carb load sort of throughout the week and then ramp it up from Thursday onwards. And I thought I would find this easier than I did, but it got to the point where I did feel quite full. But obviously trust the process, pushed on through, and had a nice carb heavy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which then brought me really nicely into race day. We had a really nice start time, which I think was 10 a.m, which actually worked perfectly because that's normally around the time that we would do our long runs, which is one thing that I would say really helped. We usually would do our long runs on Sundays, and we'd usually do them about 9-10 o'clock in the morning. So if you can align your race time with when you normally run, this will make the biggest difference, because with running, I feel like the smallest thing can really throw you off. So just having that continuity with the timings, for me, really, really helped. I also made sure I had tried and tested my pre-run meals, be it the night before and also the morning of, to make sure that whatever I was eating was not gonna annoy my stomach, was not gonna make me feel bloated or anything like that. if anybody is the same as me, my stomach is honestly the sensitive thing out there. It basically may as well be made of feathers at this point. So it doesn't take much to upset it. So for me, trialing my pre-run like meals the day before and the morning of was so important. So literally come race day, I did absolutely everything as I had done previously. From warming up, foam rolling, wearing an outfit that I'd worn before and knew was going to be comfortable, eating the same foods, drinking the same amount of water, like everything was like military operation to a T. And I think that also really, really helped me. And then a couple of things just for the actual race. I would say, going back to what I said about long runs, like if you have someone that you want to run the race with, like it just makes such a difference having someone with you, having some moral support, because and this is a conversation my friend and I actually had on Sunday while we were running. Like running is such a mental game, and it's really easy to psych yourself out, get sort of like thrown off by certain things. But even as well, like if you're not running with someone, like don't feel like that's going to affect your run, because honestly, the people that do these things are so, so nice. We were chatting to this guy who had a speaker in his running vest for ages. He'd just come back from Thailand, and this is like, I don't even know like how far into the run. And it's just a really nice environment. So even if you are doing something like this alone, like just know that you're going to be surrounded by such cool people. So like take the opportunity to like cheer other people on, like see where other people have come from, like what their running experience is from, because so many people will want to chat to you as well, because everyone is in the same boat. And this also brings me on to things like water and intra-run fuel, another thing that you want to make sure you are trialing before, because when I first started taking water on my runs, I would literally take a sip of water and get the biggest stitch in the entire world. But now when I tell you, like drinking water on my runs is the best thing ever, and I literally crave water when I run. So making sure that you are properly hydrated before. If you want to use an electrolyte, it's not again something I use personally just because my stomach doesn't agree with them, but also making sure you've got water with you. Normally there's water stations, but again, trying to run and drink, not the best thing. Which brings me on to intra-run fuel. I personally can't do energy gels and like things like that, because again, my stomach doesn't like them, and that's okay. They are not for everyone. So if you're someone who is trying gels and they're hating them, or just it's not digestively sitting right with you, that is absolutely fine. I eat Haribos. I'm literally like a child when I run, and I tell you what, it's great for two reasons. Number one, it gives me those carbs, those fast releasing carbs that I need. And number two, I'm literally feeding my inner child. I get to enjoy Haribos, which I don't normally have in day-to-day life. So it's like a treat within your run. So find the fuel that works for you, and don't feel like just because the whole world and his wife seems to be having energy gels or caffeine tablets or bananas or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that you have to do it. It's what works for you. And I think the last thing that I want to say on race day is that you are capable of so much more than you think. I fully expected to run it in like 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20, something like that. So hence I'd sort of said to myself, wow, if I can run it in under 2 hours 10, like I'll be over the moon. But honestly, you are capable of so much more than you think. And those last 3 kilometers, I took so much faster, and it just goes to show, like even at the end of that race, like when you really dig deep, like you have so much still in the tank, and you don't know until you push yourself to that limit just how capable you are. And I think a big disclaimer as well, throughout this whole process, I have just been eating a whole lot of food, and I've had a whole lot of fuel in the tank. Now, again, like I said earlier, I'm someone who responds to running on a lot of fuel quite well. So if you are similar, then make sure you're eating, okay? Don't be starving yourself. Don't be pushing yourself into the biggest calorie deficit just for the sake of your physique. Sometimes we have to prioritize our performance, and sometimes that means eating that little bit more. And I say exactly the same thing to my clients, especially when they're training for more things like halves and full marathons. It is so, so important to make sure that you're getting enough fuel into your body so you can feel good, not only throughout the process, throughout your training, through your race, and also to recover out the other side. And I do think my fueling in my training and prior to my race is a big reason why I feel so good so quickly. So don't get me wrong, I have been quite sore the past couple of days, but when I tell you, like, energy wise, yesterday I was like, I feel better than ever, like literally feel better than ever. I was quite tired on Sunday night naturally, but I think that's even more so like an adrenaline come down from just like the whole race situation, as much as obviously I had exerted a lot of energy in one day as well. But Honestly, yesterday I woke up feeling amazing. Today I feel amazing. My soreness has reduced so much already since yesterday. I was quite sore yesterday, and just more than soreness, it was just, I'd find if I sat down for a long period of time, I'd just stiffen up. So I actually took myself to the gym yesterday to do an upper body day and some mobility, just because I knew that from doing my walk in the morning, I felt so much better once I started moving my body. And this is a big thing that I always say to my one-to-one clients. You and only you know what your body needs. If your body needs rest, you are going to rest, okay? And that's what I did on Sunday. I laid on the sofa all afternoon and I had a Nando's. But I knew yesterday and also today that by moving my body, I would feel so much better. So I can't stress to you enough, like recovery is such a personal thing, but I think a couple of things that have really helped me. Number one, making sure I'm eating enough and continuing to eat enough through this week. My calories are still very high this week, again, just to promote that recovery aspect. And this week, a big emphasis on getting enough protein in as well. And number two as well, sleep. Please sleep. Honestly, I speak to so many of my clients about how important sleep is. I had the longest sleep on Sunday night and I woke up just feeling amazing off the back of it. Sleep is the time that your body heals. So if you're depriving your body of that, it is going to take you a whole lot longer to recover. And once again, I think this has been a massive factor in why I have bounced back so quickly. I am someone who is very selfish about their sleep. If you're close to me, you will know this because I am literally a grandma and I will go to bed as early as physically possible. But I am also a morning person as well, so I do like to be up early. But I am very precious about getting 7 minimum, ideally 8 hours of sleep per night. And this has made a huge difference, not only post race day, but also throughout my entire training. It's never really taken me more than like 1 to 2 days to sort of like recover physically from these longer runs. I feel like I could literally chat to you guys forever about this and just about this whole weekend. I honestly cannot believe that I have run a half marathon. It's not something that even 6 months ago I ever thought that I would do in my entire life. Don't get me wrong, I've loved running for the last year and a half, but you know, like I said, even a few months ago, I never would have even contemplated this. And here we are. And like I said, next time I run a half, it will definitely be gunning for that sub 2 hour time. So to round up this video, I hope you guys have found it helpful, I guess, seeing my reflections upon the last couple of months and also the whole process of just running my first half marathon. And all of these things that I have worked on myself are things that I work on with my one-to-one clients and things that I am going through in my free masterclass this Friday. At 6 p.m, I am taking you through the running upgrade, which is going to show you how to increase your distance super sustainably, hit some literal insane lifetime PBs, and most importantly, make sure that you are recovering and staying injury-free long term. So if you're someone who is either wanting to start your running journey and go from your first 0 to 5k, or you're a seasoned pro who is ready to level up their running and finally increase that pace without those niggles coming back, this masterclass is for you. I want you to comment the word upgrade down below this video or head to my Instagram and pop me a DM saying upgrade. Let me know you have come from this YouTube video and I will pop you over the link so you can drop your name down and I will send you access to the call, which is going to be live on Zoom this coming Friday, the 28th of Feb at 6 p.m. I'm honestly so excited to be able to share all my tips and tricks and how to apply some of the things that I've talked about in this video to your own running. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for sticking around. As I always say, I appreciate you guys honestly so much, and make sure you send me a DM or comment down below with the word upgrade, and I will see you guys on Friday.